Okay, so hi guys, what's up? Um, I'm just gonna check the stream is live. Uh, make sure. Yeah, it's live. Okay, and we're gonna do a little bit of study of the fifth element. Just try and get some basic structures of like what they're doing with form or stroke or like different textures, things like that, to understand steampunk designs, so that I can start to create steampunk designs. So in one of my books, the Secret of Mana, there is essentially a steampunk world that the protagonist comes from, very sort of retro futuristic, and so I realized when trying to design some of those things that I had very little idea of what signified, what the principles were underneath steampunk. And basically, whenever you want to figure out a design, you want to figure out what the branching structure of different principles are. So, whenever you have a design, or a design philosophy, or a design idea, there's going to be some core principles that underlie everything. So, at the very top of all the designs you'll see all the different variation. You'll see all the different sort of colors and ideas and concepts that will be super different and super unique to each and every creation. Then what you'll have is underneath that, you'll have things that are more like, let's say, tone, and that sort of separates things, like, I don't know, maybe tone and genre. So like if it's kind of more horror based, more funny, more fruity, lively, poppy, or whatever, that's going to influence things. And then you're going to have like the actual general principles of what the general sort of principles. And then you're going to boil it down to kind of like a source and the directions. I remember when I was trying to learn golf, when I was really young, because I was good at martial arts, and I thought like, oh, it'd be a quick fix to learn some golf, maybe get a few $1 million by being like a capable athlete or something, and just going into it. No idea how difficult a task it was to learn something like that. But what I found after reading hundreds and hundreds of books on the topic was, while every single book seemed to be unique, there were always different tones and sort of changes, different aspects that would be discussed or painted differently, and people would have different sort of facets that they would sort of look at. So different facets, tone, genre, etc. And then there would always be these general principles discussed that were underlying it, and underneath it, there were really only a few seminal books on golfing that actually influenced the entire genre of teaching and what they taught and what the ideas were. And once you found those books, you couldn't stop seeing it in everything further up the chain. So today I'm going to take a look at the fifth element and just try to figure out what they're doing to create a steampunk vibe. There's obviously a few different ideas that that I can picture right away, but yeah, let's just get straight into it. So here's the first one. Here we can see the city. This is obviously almost an establishing shot of the vibe of the movie, showcasing the city and what it looks like. And here, what we can tell is that there's a very architectural basis to everything that's happening there. So if we go, maybe to round brush, get like a mid-tone, something like that. You have this entire sort of building across here, and sort of building across here in between the gaps. Then you have like this darker strip that comes through. Whoa. It's because my tablet's skewed. Alright, cool. Ah. What am I doing? Wobbly. Ah. Yeah, whatever. So you have this sort of darker strip down the middle. You have... Yeah, let's keep that. And then these sort of mid-tones. This is giving us an idea of what's happening when they create contrast. And I think contrast might be an idea here that happens in steampunk, because they display a lot of weathering. And to show weathering, how do you do that? I suppose you've got to create a degree of contrast in everything that you're creating, right? They like to do things like close-up shots and pitched shots. Like this is obviously like an extreme sort of pitch of a shot that they've got going on here. That has this third person, well, it's actually a 1-point perspective, but in reality, it's almost like a 3-point perspective in how it feels or what it's actually doing, where it's creating this perspective that is essentially up and down this thing. So you'll find that they're super creative with the kind of perspectives they're using. They're not just using sort of regular camera angles and things like that. They're trying to give that punk vibe, you know? And like here we've got a layer, like one layer of sort of bridges and stuff, and it's asymmetrical. It's not the same on either side, which is good design-wise. Like if you can do something the same on either side, or you can do it different, then maybe do it different, because that'll add like a little element that changes it up, that gives it something interesting, which makes it more likely to come across as a design feature rather than just like a mistake or something. When they drop back, sometimes they're doing it with like extra light, but it's probably just that when it's dropping back, it's just narrower. And this one's thicker, further back. This one's like here, further back, but then it has like these railings. So they're creating like the design with these bridges and stuff like that. That's there purposely. That's not like an accident. That is there to help create like a continuity, some psychological effect on the viewer to see that things are dropping back. Like if you were in a room and it's empty, you wouldn't necessarily see anything falling back, but you add pillars and you'll see that the room is dropping back. So to add perspective, they've added in more of these features that are dropping back into the background to show off like the perspective, the depth, and reveal like what she's doing. Even though it's super busy, the main features, are kind of much more simplified, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. So if we take a look at this comes in like this, bop, 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 bop. And then there's like a harder line there, bop, bop. More shadow, and then bop. And with any design, there'll be kind of rhythms, these sort of things that are just kind of giving you a feeling, a kind of like, oh, that's kind of what this is doing, before you even get to specifics. So so this is definitely coming in 1 point perspective. So what am I doing? Oh, what did I do there? Come on. 1 point perspective. All right. Bop. There's a big tube thingy. I think that's also a thing of steampunk as well, is this idea of tubes. Tubes, gears, why? I suppose the reason why is more that they're trying to give across an idea of like organic forms in the technology, which makes it seem a little bit more alien. Mm. There's this, which has like a whatever, doesn't matter. They've got some shadows out this way. So ultimately, these dark spots here and on this corner, they're specifically there to kind of frame everything in so that it starts to pinch into that 1 point perspective. So they've created this sort of design element here of like some rows, channels, da da da, and they've created this like archway, this hierarchy archway type thing here, and pillars off to the sides. They're off in the outer thirds. Like they're out of the focus point of what they're doing here. And you can even see here this rail is almost directly a kind of like a walkway for her. It comes from like the outer third, and it comes into like maybe like a steeper focal point than that. And what's that? It comes from like an outer third. It's steeper than that, but like something like that. So that's a very central part of their design there as well. Also, these pillars coming across in front are a big part of the design, because yeah, make that bigger, 200. Like just this ledge that she's jumping off. Is a part of the design because they establish it here in the foreground, and then they set up different levels of foreground and background. So she is in the foreground, and then there is it's probably like a third, like a quarter or something. So even the length that they go to on like showing this next sort of bit, this next feature, this next ledge, it's almost designed the way it is from camera angle and whatnot, so that the width of this one and this one are significantly different. Like that, it's really, really dropping back. Well, terrible. Whatever. Oh my God. All right, whatever. So I have that, and let's just make her nice and bright. Pop. So she's purposely cutting off a portion of this. So she's like purposely composed like in the center of this, reaching to either side of this archway. That's definitely purposeful. And then legs springing off here. That just looks like a complete it's like a complete stick figure, but whatever. We can change that. Like add some stroke language. Oh. Really? Why is it not drawing? Ah, that's why. Just need to do it darker. Alright, so got some stroke language here. Moving out here. Down here. There's some sweeps out here, which sort of sweep off this way. And sort of there. So this is doing this. Well, this is doing this, I guess. And then these are doing this. And this is sort of bending first and then coming back that way. Bending first and then coming back that way. And then I suppose this isn't like cyberpunk, the steampunk design, so probably shouldn't be focusing on this, but maybe there will be something to find just in that. Like the contrast maybe. So the contrast, like there's a very strong rim lighting, so that's a lighting around the edge of her arms. There's also a kind of Christ-like composition in this, which makes sense in the idea of the movie that, she would be more of a Christ-like figure because it's kind of what she is. Like alien Christ or something, genetically modified Christ figure, which is an interesting take that they, like, say steampunk will create like interesting takes. Wow, I'm making like a chimpanzee here, like a monkey. Like strong trapped muscle. It just looks that way. Just because obviously these arms are actually severely smaller. And yeah, and I didn't capture that at all because I'm not really measuring. But hey, whatever. Little arms, little twiggy arms. And whatever, with her hand. Don't really care. She's got a very sort of athletic, lean body. It's not like a lot of hips. Hmm. Alright, whatever. That is horrifyingly bad. Whatever, doesn't matter. It reminds me of like Gumby or something. Actually, her waist point is at the midpoint of this, so we can just literally move her and shrink her and manipulate. It's okay to manipulate. It's just a drawing. It's not a real person. Okay. Da da da. Da 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 da. Da. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. There we go. It's so much better. Alright, let's just ignore this ever existed. Woo! Woo! What is it, the blend tool? I think that's the magical tool, right? Oh, that didn't exist. Oh no. Okay. Magical tool. But she does have rim lighting, so hey, maybe that'll help us. I'm just really not warmed up today. It's fine. Whatever. Boom, boom, boom. Just got this, and like it swings out here, and then out here, and up here, and blah, whatever. And then just got this, and up like this, and blah, and now I'm not looking at the reference. I'm just. Okay. Yeah, it's almost like praying, isn't it? Whatever. So the steampunk design here is mostly just pillars, as we can see. And then you have all this traffic doing like weird stuff. Like there's like a little dude turning, which has like a really retro look on the car, like that little curve. It's almost toy-like Micro Machines, where they're kind of reminiscent of all those old school sort of trucks and vans and cars and things, just minus wheels, of course. So, in a way, I think a part of this vibe, yeah, obviously perspective, like putting things in a grander perspective so that the design sort of gives the illusion that the whole world is this way. So, depending on how packed the design is, if it's a larger sort of expansive view of like lots of these sort of bits of technology or whatever, if you have like enough indicators here of what's happening, you can give kind of an illusion that the entire world is this way. This one, it's not even that complicated. There's not even that many features on screen. It's like there's obviously lots of parts. Like you've got lots of these cars going there. You've got like designs of like certain pipes. This pipe has like a geometric structure on it, like over it. Let's see if we can find a pipe that doesn't. Is there a pipe? Isn't there pipes on this one? I don't think. There might be. Is that a pipe? No, I don't think so. they're really showcasing perspective. So using geometries to really showcase these perspectives. So like down here and along here and across and back, and they're really central too. Like they seem to be creating these sort of perspective changes in a really central location. Even framed by the main character here is representing um, some of these elements. So that's kind of shown off this element up here. And all these cars are basically the main focus of the design. So they've got tons of them crammed in. So no one particular car is the focus. There's some close up, some further away to give that sort of element of, yeah, now you know that these further away ones also have like similar detailing, similar like weathering. So like here we've got weathering on the top of this car. There's sort of this steel rustiness. There's like stuff scribbled on the back of this one. Um, there's definitely dirt and grime on this one that looks like a dump truck of some kind, but it's probably not a dump truck. It just looks like a dump truck. And so it's kind of like junkyard, kind of junkyard vibes. So maybe even looking at a junkyard makes sense. This is reminiscent of a factory, like just in its composition. Like when you step in a factory, what do you see? You see like a big open space, and then you see like factory pillars, right? So you get this idea of perspective that comes in big, wide open industrial spaces. Like it's probably one of the places in all of the world where you start to see like more of these industrial sort of these these perspective lines because it is so industrial. So I think it's probably pretty true that um, that yeah you're going to have way more. Um, what am I doing? Even trying to draw that. I'm definitely not in the mood. Okay, so all right, so there is perspective lines. There are indicators of elements that happen commonplace in the world, and it's littered with them. So this sort of littering effect is really cool. And let's see if we can break any of that down, because let's get like a color here and just maybe even try and figure out like where on the page all this litter is and what sizes they are. So for example, dump truck. That's nice and prominent. This one, also similar size, similar placing. What's this? Similar size, similar placing, similar size, similar size. So that's definitely for continuity purposes that they're doing it like that. That in the center, they're all going forwards, and then at the edges, things are changing up more. Where you have one turning, this one's suggesting it's going to turn. this big one here. You have one over here. Like, why did they choose this kind of setup? Does it have relevance? Would it matter if we change those around? So I'm thinking about the tree that I showed before. So this tree here, like what parts just variations or unique takes? What part is like setting up a tone or having a specific angle on it? What part is general principles and what is just like this main directional sort of setup that showcases like everything, where everything comes from. And I wish I'd done that on a different layer so that I could then impose that over this. But I think we can do something like that anyway. Like with color. Oh my god. Subtract. Yeah, let's just do that. And then if I move this like up. Oh my god, that is hideous. Where are those bits and pieces? That's actually pretty useful. Like it's sort of almost X-ray. So what did they do different? The pillars, similar. The compositional thirds thing, similar. The littering effect of those things. I think the littering effect of these things. Oh. I think when they do this littering of like different cars and stuff. What's this? Like, there is actually a sense behind this where maybe it's like a display on a monitor or a keyboard or something a bit retro, but like like Guitar Hero or something, where certain things are in rows and lines or columns. And so maybe that is something more integral, is this idea of columns and lines and things like that. So this creates like this pattern. It's kind of like digital pattern. So maybe there's a kind of digital positional idea. That seems super interesting, where you would homage different features in the landscape. Say, for example, you have a simple factory, it's boring, perspective, maybe some tubes, some features that might be somewhat vaguely symbolic, whatever. You're setting up continuity of something, you're indicating a feature of the technology, or whatever. But the way that you do that is you might be setting up a kind of a digital representation of something. Like this capsule shape, for example. Where is this? Blue. Let's like a capsule shape is kind of like this, and then it has this rounded edge, and then down, and then it's like a rounded edge, and then across. And I don't know if any of you remember Casio watches or like old school sort of calculators. They always had these beveled edges on their buttons and buttons like this, right? And so essentially you're representing almost like a button interface that might be representing on a screen that's just showing like a few digital pieces, like here and there and there, and like there's a feature up here and now there's a feature over there. So this is kind of a old school display interface that people would be familiar with, and it would be getting in their head saying like, why does this look digital in how it's shown? Because they haven't just said, I'm going to create traffic. How do I create traffic? Because traffic all goes in a line. They all go in a line. So these ones, yeah, they're going in a line. But this upper half, up here, where like the interest is, where she's directed to, where she's jumping out to, that is more chaotic than this, which is also an interesting idea, which is curious. So there's some really masterful designers on this film. Really masterful designers. Like I believe guys that worked on like Aliens and or Alien and Blade Runner and stuff like that. They kind of like also worked on this, which is why it has such a cool sort of vibe to it. I'm just going to check out a bit of the Fifth Element.
I'm so glad to hear you at night.
There's another idea here, which is what am I doing? I need like a new thingy here. There we go. And composition's like super simple, just like it's just a circle. It's a window that's represented as a circle. They're also showing perspective through this window. So the window, it's not just a normal window, it's a portcullis. It's a, like, it's specifically showcasing this hollowness. So maybe like a sewer or something like that, evoking those sort of ideas so that when you are looking through this window, you're also gaining this kind of like, oh, I could look through a tin can or something like that. And then there's like a horizon with like buildings, like a major building. Like these are almost like stalagmites or stalactites, or I can never remember which one is which. There's like a more blocky building. There's these weird hook-shaped buildings too, like that do this, which adds quite a bit of interest. Like to just think of a building with, whoop, it's got a little finger on it. Like, okay. Or a building with a little crook along it here, so that this sort of comes up like this. And I think they're just representing perspective changes again, in order to kind of like represent like these angles to create these kind of angles. This is like they're almost trying to say that, yeah, you definitely are even looking up on it, even though it's just this small incline away from the eye level. You're definitely up looking up on this. It's still big, still huge, and there's like these elements to it that they're doing stuff. It's very cool. Like these are almost like shards of glass or whatever that they're using. And then you come out, if you come out from this window, they do something where they essentially make it within a square. So they're always using squares and rounded kinds of features so that there's both. so that nothing is ever organic, nothing is ever just simple, straight geometry, that there is this sort of weird blend.
Don't have what you asked for. Territory. You're on loose. You're on loose.
Oh, nudity. Okay,
Bada boom.
yeah, so they often have these kind of facets as well. Like they might have something doing this, like in the scene, that's just there as part of the wall. Like it might be like dropped back. It's not like this looks like an enclosed claustrophobic room that's going to this portcullis, but it's not represented that way. It's more this kind of just a light tone in the wall. And they might have something like similar that just drops back. I don't know how they're representing that like super shallow, but it is super shallow when you see it. But they'll have, yeah, stuff like that. But again, it's that perspective theme, facets, sort of getting shapes, maybe even beveled shapes, because adding that bevel creates stuff. I've completely misrepresented this because it is literally part of like one wall. So maybe by putting like a feature in front of it that is actually got perspective. Can drop that back. I don't know. So like a table, and on the table you have like tubes. So like you have these tubes that are joined there and connect into nothing pretty much, but that it's just like a weird thing. Why? Maybe I just gotta remove these bottom parts so that it doesn't confuse. Because I'm not directly looking at the reference. I'm just kind of remembering from a glimpse. Because I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it consistently there. But they'll have something funky going on, so they'll get some perspective, they'll get some variation in angle. So I think variation in angle is kind of an idea. So, and like digital, potentially digital displays, combinations of like geometric and more rounded concepts, because it creates contrast. And then you have like weathered effects as well. So wherever they have textures, they'll have a mark or a stain. So they'll never have clean textures. They'll, like, instead of a clean sort of repeating texture, they'll always do something that has like a mark across it, or a mark across it, so that you know it's not pristine. So if they have a cylinder, they'll have like a cylinder, and where you might say, oh, I'm gonna render the cylinder so that it's nice and so that it reads as a cylinder or something. That's going to be problematic because you have to then create like something that creates a mark on that cylinder, like along here or here. Maybe even something to exemplify the perspective more. And maybe you would create like a ridge or something on it. So that there's more chances to sort of display something. And maybe you might think of it like, and then how can you make it more digital looking? So maybe there's a way to lengthen one of these sides and make it more like a capsule or something. So that when you do get this, maybe it gives like a feeling of a subway tunnel, like tube, rather than just like a regular old tube. So it's just, I think it's playing with these very slight things of like weathering, but also like capsule shapes. Also digital displays. Like if you're going for a retro vibe, you go for pixels, right? Like so a pixelated display, which is, you have like your cubes that sort of split, and that you've got like this thing that has no anti-aliasing. Like it's just like these zigzags that you're going for, right? In your design. But you don't do that in like steampunk. Instead, it's a slight difference where everything's analog, not digital. And because it's that little bit more analog, everything's going to be weathered because it's going to be something that lasts for ages or whatever, that doesn't get that much design attention. So it's going to have like a mark or a stain across it. It's going to be industrialized anyway, so you might have like these dropbacks in perspective that are rapid, but then to represent that kind of thing. But so you've got like loads of perspective. This, yeah, so perspective helps add litter to the world, right? So you want to use perspective to increase the scale of the impact this has on the world, so that this becomes almost like litter. So like that by itself, that could seem really clean. But say if you were to create like something that had an angle up here that was separate from it, that was, I don't know, coming in the foreground, doing something, and you had like a similar sort of theme going on, I don't know, whatever, this here, like I'm going like with gutters or something, I don't know. Maybe that should be straighter, maybe that should, just to give it like that beveled, turning sort of edges. So it should be straight, but then bevel, and then straight, because it is industrial. it's not like purely organic, where you'd be going for that organic, that super organic vibe. So there would be like specific angles to it too. It wouldn't just come off at a random angle. It might come off at the 45 degree. And maybe along here. And then you'd have like some texture, but then like something that marks it up, scuffs it up, scuffs it up. So this is perspective with the concept of litter. And then we're thinking about like the shape language being like more beveled, like having like old school analog shapes. That's why they went for like those old school cars, not like modern cars. Though modern cars, they have this interesting like aspect of like angulation and stuff in it, which is kind of steampunky in a way as well. So you'd have like these round figures that might do something like this, but then you might also have something that is angled. Maybe like this, I don't know. Which gives ideas of, I don't know, wonky perspective or something. Or mechanical facets. Because aren't there like things that are old school, like steel plates and stuff, that angles represent? That's something I'll have to like look at a bit deeper. It's not something I immediately grasp the idea of. And also you've got these patterns, like digital display patterns, right? Where you've got this and you've got this, and then all of a sudden you might have like one is skipped, and then maybe there's like one over here, which then has a thing down here, and this is reminiscent of like digital displays. So designing a landscape, say this is across on the side, this is some portion in the middle. We then think about the positioning, like Tetris almost. Like we've got these Tetris blocks, and what would another Tetris block be? Like something coming across here? Maybe? Like this? Like something that was sort of on the lower end and then up and across. Like it wouldn't cross over this arbitrarily. It would sort of be shorter than it because it keeps in its own spaces and stuff like that. And so then you might have like some weird pipe structure there. And this is interesting even in regards to like how they might design cities or something to look steampunky. Because maybe the entire city or something, like, let's actually go less curved on those, like something more capsule shape. And then you have like a texture that then you mark. Like there would be, what is it? I think it's called asymmetry, where you would create a symmetry and then you purposely break that symmetry. So something that seems consistent, you break that with a little bit of asymmetry. So this is very symmetric as well. And maybe we could add something that just breaks that symmetry by like just cutting off this edge. So asymmetry is also another idea, symmetry, that we could be using. So maybe even this, we can cut that like that and have this going along like this, and maybe even like have like awkward little pinch points that push things in somewhere, or maybe even like a dent that might show even further weathering. Like it would be like almost a feature that you've got that dent there. You'd like, okay, so got this happening and then this happening and then this happening in different spot, and maybe you want something like small happening here to create that sort of digital vibe. So, and you would think about the perspective that it's showing as well. Like maybe there's a crane or something that's holding this thing, and it's like ahead of everything, and it's got like, I don't know, like just something that might come into the foreground, or it might be further in the background. Here it's in the foreground, and then we might make more contrast on it to make it pop out more, so that you get like a differentiation, but it's still got like this beat, 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 beat sort of Tetrisy digital vibe, right? So those are considerations that are unusual. Like, for example, if you're creating a landscape for a city, and we've got like part of the city here, how would you complete the rest of the city? Because I would think that you would also want to like create like some lower sections, and then like some higher sections that like do something, and maybe even like something wonky, like a sort of strange platform type thing or something coming off it. Like you have things that are this lower level, you have something that this higher level. You might have like similar things off the back, like that you have like normally, to continue showing that it's kind of a normal thing or whatever. And maybe this has like some antennas on it or something. You could even add like a weird rounded edge if you wanted, just like somewhere on that to add like more of this geometric sort of variation and asymmetry. Like maybe you've got like another thing that's coming up here and coming up like this, and maybe this one is actually a more prominent building that, or maybe this needs to be even bigger, so that we get sort of a weird vibe from it. Maybe it even has some weird repeating patterns on it. So maybe this is a bit too alien, but I think once you have the things that create the language that you can dial up, then you can dial it back. So you might have like features of this in the city, and then maybe there's like a perspective drop back that happens, like to get to this visual point, because maybe there is like a big plaza down here or something, and like there's other things that lead up and around to the building, or maybe it like splits off, does things in different directions, like what's happening there. But you would want to be using this kind of philosophy, that kind of weird staccato setup, where you got like a beat and like a beat, and like maybe things coming along the bottom here doing something that has like another weird beat, and maybe something up here that has like a beat. So you'd be looking for like abstract compositional ideas like that, which could create a digital vibe and then create like weathering, like specific cases where you can actually create some weathering, even though this is far away. If you could get an opportunity to see something and then weather it, that'd be nice. And anything to show like some actual perspective drop back is going to be good too. Different facets. And then breaking symmetry is also really nice too. So those are some ideas actually that really help. So if I was to create a city on a hill, let's say a city on a hill, let's just say, just normal average eye line. First thing we might do is we might knock in like a perspective. So you set up like, okay, there's like a smaller thing. There's like something that's a bit larger. Something that's a bit larger still. We shouldn't have this one. This one's too evident. Something like this. So first of all, we've then created some ideas of perspective. And we might want to create like a base sort of idea or something. So this might be, I don't know, a rail line or something. Doesn't matter what it is. And then say we want some sort of digital aspect. So what's going to happen to this city on a hill? Like maybe got like a beat here, which is nice and beveled. It could be a series of buildings, doesn't matter. It could be a refinery or something, doesn't really matter. Maybe you could even have something up here that helps create the vanishing point, the 1 point perspective, right? So yeah, if it's on a hill, maybe we can make that hill weirdly capsule shaped or something. Like just change the geometry ever so much to help it create like a steampunk vibe. So maybe there's something here that's like pretty wonky, pretty weird. Like that. Giving it like some angles to like create more possible perspective, I guess. I'm thinking that looks like a cathedral though. There's too much like symbolism of a cathedral. What does a factory generally look like? Factory might be something like really kind of long. And maybe something rounded on the top. something that adds some asymmetry. So maybe just literally, or in. Yeah, let's make it in. So that makes it less natural feeling. Something up here. Maybe I can. That looks like a picnic basket. All right, a picnic basket building. But that actually might be cool if we make it a little bit less picnic basket, but create something sort of weirdly vivid. And maybe have like some rows and lines across it. That might showcase its weirdness. Like differentiate one side from the other. And maybe here we could think there's like some refinery sort of core type thing. So maybe this is actually a cylinder around which things are, you know, so you have like these hard angled edges, then you have these smoother lines. So that's kind of confusing, but see, what's something else? Like I really like the idea of the design of that other building that had like a platform that came out from it. That was kind of cool. Maybe I'll have like a rounded thing like this. And maybe like another platform or something. I don't like that rounded part. Maybe make this more angular because this one has like a lot of round features, right? Da da da. Maybe we can do something to show perspective, like have like some tiny little things over here, like some cylinder type things. And then we will repeat those like here, like some sort of cylindery thing. Like maybe we'll put like some engine marks or something, like these pipes or something, and like a zigzag across of different cooling vents or something. I don't know, whatever. Whatever that thing is, and then we can have one that's kind of closer. What perspective is going on here? We've got, yeah, it's kind of 1 point perspective, but where do these other perspectives go off to? They go off like this, right? At least off to the side of the page. So we can create it off to the side there if we want. But it would still be at eye level, so we can't really push that perspective too much. So maybe we can get a capsule shape with these things. Like it comes down like a capsule with this one. And comes across, and then we can get like a weird capsule thing going on. Because then that can create like a beat and a beat sort of weirdness going on. And maybe even we can put like a detail of something here to almost create that idea again. But maybe have it be like, I don't know. So it's trying to create that shape, even if it's by sort of cheating by putting some kind of object there that then pretends it's that shape. And then you have like these pillars along the side. You need a bit more asymmetry, so maybe asymmetry like this end is like curved and has like another thing in it, and maybe this comes across and it has like this in it. But maybe this side does something, like goes up onto the roof. This side goes down to the ground or something. This side goes to the ground down here. So you're creating like a weird asymmetry that does something less expected. Because then it's going to add like more interest, right? Well, these can just be sort of capped. Maybe that one's capped normally, and maybe this one is just like a slightly higher shaft, and maybe it's like a whistle type shape. It doesn't matter what it is, and you can have like a consistent sheen to it that then all of a sudden you scuff, and you scuff, you scuff, and so you might have like a consistent shading on the inside of it as well, which is dark or whatever, but then you like scuff like parts inside of it. I'm thinking something along here. Maybe it's like more mid-ground. Which is why it can be bigger than these. Like, what is that? I have no idea what the hell that is. Maybe it's some form of power plant. Like power generation or something. So we can add like some, like a substation. So you probably need to know the direction of the light and then create some like actual shadow in this thing because it's quite big. Let's say the light's coming from this direction so we don't lose too many details of things, whatever. So you might have something like this, and you might have like dark aspects in here, and then this thing is probably darker. And I don't know, does it go into this ball thing here or something? I don't know. That does not look stable. Alright, but, okay. That looks like bad engineering. But maybe these little insulator plates. And what do they call them? They call them like something bars. I don't remember what they're called. They have like these. They're kind of like capacitors. These huge capacitor things that electricity has to jump across. Helps regulate things. Maybe they're called T-bars. I don't remember. But maybe it's like a bit more complicated of a T-bar. Some sort of weird transistor-like T-bar. Maybe there's like a line that goes through there that acts as like a resistor or something. And maybe there's like a fraying wire or something. I don't know. And then you could create like this image like further back as well to showcase like even more scale, where you might have this recognizable shape. It comes back there, and it's have this and what is it? It comes from the backside, and it creates this ball, right? So then you've created this rhythm in the idea. How you fill this out a bit more, because it's got to create that lidded feel, right? So maybe features in this foreground here can show something more lidded. Or maybe here. Like maybe we're only seeing like this specific angle of the city, this side of the city, and then the other part of the city, like, could be starting to be suggested over here, which is like further adding something. Maybe like you take out like a chunk of this building. I think I've just created an airport, but at least it's something. I need to think a little bit more on steampunky designs to try and fill in the idea, because this is too open. We've got some pillars here, which is good. We need something that confines this space, that makes this narrower and makes this narrower somehow. Like, I don't know what it would be. Maybe like a set of grooves or facets or something like this. This goes to like a vanishing point, which is so far away. But there are like these. Maybe like it's some kind of rail line that doesn't work like typical rail. I don't really like that much. It's so empty, like back here and back here and back here. It gives it that farm vibe, which is completely not what we want. So maybe something here with like a circular facet in it. Maybe I'll cheat by adding like some sort of gears or something. Like a bevel edge. And maybe like what do? You kind of create like a weird gear. I didn't think I was gonna like actually get into sort of designing something, but hey, whatever. That's obviously not very well measured and whatever. So you wouldn't have it like that. There wouldn't be that fifth one. This one would be here and it would be sort of coming up like that. So you have this weird thing, which, let's get rid of those triangles. That's pointless. Since we've got this thing here, we can create it's a little bit more. It's a little bit closer to cyberpunky. Maybe add like a patch or something. Bevel that edge. Need more contrast. Just curious to see what it looks like with a bit of contrast on it, how it starts to change. Okay. I think I don't like that hill in the background. But that's to be expected because it was never really designed, was it? It was just like a hill. So maybe to continue with this sort of theme, I won't put it on a hill. Instead, everything's on an elevation here, which then implies like this greater scope back here. Got these little things. So then we'd want to drop some of this down. And maybe that cuts off there. But then you'd want to put some some of the round brush along here, down there, maybe along back there. Yeah, that's looking way better now. Like as for like a steampunky vibe. So that's very, very desolate. But what if, like, what has to come here in this mid zones? Let's add something in the mid zones. Like it's gonna come up, it's gonna come through, like here, right? Because we've got, not so sure if, yeah, we should go 2/3 rather than like halfway. Because halfway is a little bit too staged, but 2/3 seems a little bit more accidental. Move this line because that'll spoil it. And what should that be? I think this should actually be something, because it's framed, there should be something like some sort of interesting feature there, like you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that this should be a wall, like that gets bigger on this side. Maybe there's a wall like here. Yeah. Like a wall on this side. I don't know what I just did there. Remove that, whatever. I don't know how I can make this wall seem whatever. Maybe it's a mesh. A mesh wall. I don't know, maybe that isn't a good idea because that doesn't seem very... I don't know if I've ever seen that in steampunk. That's more just trash, sort of apocalypse style stuff. Because if they did, they'd have like these weird features that would come off each of these little pylons. So I don't mind that. That sort of seems cool because it adds to the perspective drop off. Like it really adds to that sort of feeling of distance, which then means we can add more litter into the scene, which would probably put up this center line. So maybe this actually just keeps going rather than dropping down. I don't know. I don't know how I'd do that part. And I kind of don't like the idea that doing it this way, you'd have this kind of be obscuring so much of like the other parts of the design, because it just makes it disappear, doesn't it? So let's not do that. Maybe that comes down here and sort of comes across here. And you've got like a weird spike pipe thing there, which comes off this thing. And maybe all along in here you've got some sort of generators. I don't know. But back here, maybe a kind of pyramid. Like a massive pyramid structure. So that adds like some faceting, which is good. But maybe make it more interesting somehow. Like down here. Where's the correct cutoff point? Maybe here. Maybe there's like a round thing. And I think I'm getting away from cyberpunk here into something else. Because we're above the eye line, that's why I'm curving upwards with those cylinder strokes. Yeah, that's actually not bad because you could say like over on this left side, you could say there's lots of industrial stuff, while on the right side is also industrial stuff, but not as much. And then it leads more towards the city over here and over in the back. And maybe there's like some refinery here. Maybe we can identify that this is a refinery of some sort by adding a bit of language here. That seems a bit too celebratory, to be honest. but go here, add some of this on the underside of this. So it's less like clouds. More toxic looking. Get some darker spots. Something like that, and then along here. And maybe some lighter stuff, a bit bigger than that. All right. Those are some ideas actually. Like that at least gives me an idea or something. But then I want to think of stuff like up here in the top, like what's happening up here, because this makes it so free and liberating. And also along here, this shouldn't be as free and liberating. We could add like just some quick pipes, just some like little weird little menacing pipes that do weird stuff. Like, yeah, not menacing, but just like, what are they doing? I don't know, I lost the plot there somewhere. Is it a coiling pipe? I don't know. I don't know what I do. But need to add some details. To be honest, I feel like I'm kind of done with this. It does create a vibe of some part of the city that I did want to create for the manga. So some parts of this I really like. Other parts I'm like, So for example, this entire left side, I kind of like that. There's something about it that has that nice vibe of some weird stuff you don't know what's going on there. Here, here, here. Oh, what is that? Huh. That's strange. Okay. Always helps when you've got the right tool. Also, some ideas is changing, like just adding some marks. Adding some marks even to these shadows and along here and up along here and like a mark and an extra scuff mark and an extra mark along there. Like just adding bits that add contrast. Just scuffed. Whatever. So that is actually a little bit steampunky. It's not there yet, but it's got some principles that fit the vibe. So kind of happy with that for now, and then I'll like have to get back at something. Like get another set of ideas after another run at it. Take another run and get some ideas. But I think for now, cool enough. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. So thanks guys for listening and watching. And I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Alright. Take you guys later.